Okay, so today we're going to be making basic pasta dough. The first thing that you have to do is measure out a cup of flour, and right onto your clean counter space you want to make a nice big well. You don't have to spend too much time making it perfect, but it is nice to make it about as big as your open palm. If the walls break when we're making the pasta dough, it's not a big deal either. The basic ingredients for homemade pasta dough are going to be flour, eggs, olive oil, and salt. So I have 2 eggs per 1 cup of flour, and I want to beat those up a little bit and add in half a teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Regular pasta dough only has water, flour, and no salt, and no eggs. So this one is a little richer and has some fat in it as well. That's why homemade pasta is a little lighter in texture, but higher in calories. So just like I would whisk it in the bowl, I'm gonna whisk it on my counter, little bit by little bit, using the fork to pick up some of the flour. So at any point now, it definitely could break. But you see it's starting to thicken in the center from the addition of the flour. And I'm scooping a little bit in. But let's say the wall were to break. It doesn't really run out all that quickly at this point, so it's not too big of a deal. It's so sticky right now that I want to stick with my fork and just keep mixing. And you want to move relatively quickly, and you don't have to worry about being too neat, because obviously this is a pretty messy process. And you can do this in a food processor, you can probably do this in a KitchenAid mixer, but not everybody has those things. So I want to show you just how to do it just on a countertop, which everybody's got. So you can start to see that beautiful yellow color forming, and it's picking up most of the flour. And I could switch to my hand right now, but then a good portion of the dough will be on my hands. So I just keep using the fork. And the recipe calls for 1 cup of flour to 2 eggs, but then it says plus a half a cup or a cup for kneading, and that's really going to depend on the actual size of the egg, how accurately you measured the olive oil, and the moisture in the air. So right now it's pretty dry. It's not a humid day, it's a dry day. So we might need a little bit more moisture in this and a little bit less flour. So we'll see about how much it takes. So at this point, I'm gonna try to scoop as much as I can off of the fork, and I'm gonna get my hands dirty. I like to kind of grab the extra flour, pop it on top, and stick with just your fingertips at this point so your whole hand doesn't get gobbed up. And you can use the fork to scrape what's on the counter and work that in. This is going to require a good amount of kneading to make it glutinous enough that it can pass through the KitchenAid press. You can buy a handheld press, pasta press, to roll this out thin, and then from that basically it rolls it into flat lasagna sheets, and those sheets can be cut into fettuccine or linguine or pappardelle, whatever size you'd like. And fresh pasta doesn't get dried, and it actually cooks for a much shorter amount of time. Fresh pasta will only cook in boiling water for about 2 to 3 minutes, because it already has so much moisture from the olive oil and the egg. But like I said, it's lighter in texture. Even though it has the egg and the olive oil, you'd think it would have a richer taste, but you roll it out really light and thin. Okay, and you basically just keep kneading that, and as it picks up more flour and you feel it starting to stick to the countertop, you can go back and put more flour down. We're gonna let this rest after kneading it in plastic wrap for about an hour, or you can even do it overnight in the refrigerator. And then tomorrow we will run it through the pasta press a few times, develop even more gluten, and then we can roll it into whatever shapes or cut it into whatever shapes we want. Matt, you had a question? Sorry.